The missing grave. A dictator vanishes, leaving a mystery in his wake. Visitors to Berlin can walk amidst the remnants of the Third Reich. The city, once the epicenter of Nazi power, now stands as a living museum of history. Tourists and locals alike traverse the streets, where echoes of the past linger in every corner. Crumbling buildings and somber memorials stand as testament to a dark chapter in history. These structures, though decayed, hold stories of a time when the world was engulfed in conflict. Each brick and stone whispers tales of suffering, resilience, and the ultimate downfall of a tyrannical regime. Yet, one figure, conspicuous by his absence, is Adolf Hitler. The Führer, whose presence once loomed large over Europe, has left behind a void. His final moments, shrouded in secrecy, have become the subject of endless debate and speculation. There is no grand tomb, no marked grave, no physical reminder of the dictator's end. Unlike other historical figures whose resting places are well documented and visited, Hitler's final resting place remains an enigma. This absence is not just a physical one, but a symbolic erasure of his legacy. This lack of a definitive resting place has fueled speculation and conspiracy for over half a century. Theories range from the plausible to the fantastical, each adding layers to the mystery. Did he escape to South America? Was his body secretly disposed of by the Allies? The questions are endless. What truly happened to Adolf Hitler's body in the dying days of World War II? As the Allies closed in and Berlin crumbled, the fate of the dictator became a closely guarded secret. Eyewitness accounts and historical records offer conflicting stories, leaving historians to piece together the puzzle. The answer, shrouded in the chaos and destruction of war, is a tale of desperation, deceit, and enduring mystery. In the final days, as the Third Reich faced inevitable defeat, Hitler's inner circle took drastic measures to ensure his body would not become a trophy for the victors. It is a story that begins not in the ruins of Berlin, but in the heart of a nation teetering on the precipice of defeat. As Germany faced its darkest hour, the fate of its most infamous leader became intertwined with the nation's struggle for survival. The mystery of Hitler's end is not just a historical curiosity, but a reflection of the chaos and uncertainty that defined the era. The crumbling Reich Germany in 1945, a nation on the brink, the once formidable empire now reduced to a landscape of devastation and despair. By April 1945, the Third Reich was a shadow of its former self. The grandiose dreams of a thousand-year empire had crumbled in the face of relentless Allied advances and internal collapse. Allied forces were closing in from both east and west, relentlessly pushing back the once mighty German army. The Wehrmacht, once feared across Europe, was now in full retreat, its soldiers exhausted and demoralized. Cities lay in ruins, pounded into submission by Allied bombing raids. The relentless aerial bombardments had turned vibrant urban centers into ghostly landscapes of twisted metal and shattered concrete. The German people, weary of war and facing shortages of food and supplies, could sense the end was near. Long lines for basic necessities and the constant threat of air raids had become a grim reality of daily life. In Berlin, the heart of the collapsing Nazi regime, a sense of dread pervaded the air. The once bustling capital was now a city of ruins, its streets filled with the echoes of a dying regime. Soviet troops were on the outskirts of the city, their artillery fire a constant reminder of the impending doom. The Red Army's relentless advance signaled the final act in the tragic saga of the Third Reich. Amidst this chaos, deep beneath the surface, in the fortified bunker complex known as the Führerbunker, Adolf Hitler faced his final days. Surrounded by loyalists and consumed by delusion, he issued futile orders to armies that no longer existed, clinging to the last vestiges of his shattered dream. As the end drew near, civilians fled the advancing armies, seeking refuge from the inevitable. The once proud nation was now a tableau of destruction and despair, its people caught in the crossfire of history. The fall of Berlin marked the end of the war in Europe, a moment of both relief and reflection. The Allied victory brought an end to the tyranny of the Nazi regime, but the scars of war would linger for generations. In the aftermath, Germany began the long process of rebuilding. Amidst the rubble, there was a glimmer of hope, a chance to rise from the ashes and forge a new future. The story of 1945 is not just one of destruction, but also of resilience and renewal. Days of darkness inside Hitler's bunker as the world closed in. The final days of the Third Reich were marked by a sense of impending doom as the Allies closed in from all sides. The Führerbunker, a claustrophobic warren of concrete and steel, became a microcosm of the dying Nazi state. This underground fortress, buried deep beneath the Chancellery in Berlin, was designed to be a last refuge for Hitler and his inner circle. It was a place where the walls seemed to close in, mirroring the shrinking territory of the Nazi regime. Here, Hitler, surrounded by his closest advisors and loyal followers, received updates from the front, issued orders that were increasingly ignored, and raged against the betrayals he perceived all around him. The Führer, once the master of a vast empire, now found himself trapped in a bunker, his power slipping away with each passing hour. His outbursts of anger and frustration were a stark contrast to the calm, calculated leader he had once been. Among those sharing the bunker's confines were Eva Braun, Hitler's longtime mistress, who had chosen to stay by his side despite the looming catastrophe. Her presence added a personal dimension to the grim atmosphere as she tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy in a world that was anything but normal. Joseph Goebbels, his minister of propaganda, was also there, ever the loyal follower, spinning the narrative of a final victory even as defeat became inevitable. Goebbels' unwavering devotion to Hitler and the Nazi cause was evident in his every action and word. And Martin Bormann, his private secretary, who managed the day-to-day operations within the bunker. Bormann's role was crucial as he tried to keep the crumbling administration functioning amidst the chaos. As the days dwindled and the news from the outside grew ever more grim, the atmosphere within the bunker became one of suffocating tension. A toxic mix of fear, fanaticism and despair. The once mighty leaders of the Nazi regime were now reduced to a state of paranoia and hopelessness, their dreams of a 1,000-year Reich shattered. The bunker, once a symbol of strength and security, had become a tomb for the dying regime, a place where the final chapter of the Third Reich was being written in fear and desperation. Section 4. The End in the Bunker. A suicide pact and a desperate attempt at disposal. With the rumble of Soviet artillery growing ever louder, Hitler made the decision to end his own life rather than face capture. On April 30th, 1945, after a final meal with his staff, Hitler and Eva Braun retreated to his private quarters. There they committed suicide, Hitler by shooting himself, Braun by swallowing a cyanide capsule. Following Hitler's prearranged instructions, their bodies were taken outside to the Reich Chancellery garden, doused with gasoline and set ablaze. The disposal was hasty, fueled by panic and the need to prevent the Soviets from capturing the Führer's remains. Section 5. Ashes to Ashes, the confusing aftermath and the search for remains. The chaotic circumstances surrounding Hitler's death and the hasty disposal of his body created a situation ripe for speculation and doubt. The Soviets, upon discovering the charred remains, were initially uncertain of their identity. Adding to the confusion, the Soviets themselves spread conflicting accounts, claiming at times to have recovered Hitler's body, while at other times denying any knowledge of its whereabouts. This lack of clarity, coupled with the absence of a definitive burial site, fueled a wave of conspiracy theories, some more outlandish than others, that questioned the official narrative of Hitler's death. Section 6. The Führer Lives. Conspiracy theories take root and flourish. In the years following the war, rumours and conspiracy theories regarding Hitler's fate proliferated. Some whispered that he had escaped the bunker at the last minute, spirited away by loyal followers to a secret hideout in South America or elsewhere. Others claimed he had faked his death and was living incognito, biding his time for a return to power. These theories, often fueled by anti-Semitism and neo-Nazi sympathizers, found fertile ground in a world still reeling from the horrors of the war. They offered a perverse comfort to those who refused to believe that the Nazi regime had truly been defeated. Section 7. Chasing Shadows, Official Investigations and the Elusive Truth. Despite the persistence of conspiracy theories, official investigations conducted by both Allied and Soviet authorities concluded that Hitler did indeed die in the bunker on April 30th, 1945. Eyewitness accounts from those present in the bunker, forensic analysis of the recovered remains, and declassified intelligence reports all pointed to the same conclusion. However, the lack of a complete body and the conflicting accounts initially disseminated by the Soviets continued to cast a shadow of doubt over the official narrative, allowing conspiracy theories to persist and even thrive.